Hey guys, it's Connor here, checking in real quick. I'm going to do this super fast because my son is screaming and I need to go check on him. This is episode 176 of the HooperCast. We're talking about a number of films tonight and also this Rotten Tomatoes deal, so enjoy the episode. First, I want to tell you about Letterboxd real quick, and if you don't want to hear about it, then just skip ahead. But don't, for God's sake, don't turn the episode off. If you haven't heard about Letterboxd is a social network that allows for film lovers that allows you to track, rate, and review the films that you watch. You can follow other members to get recommendations, and you can publish lists of films like your top 10 for the year and a lot more. This episode of the HooperCast hopefully has listeners like you tuned in, and listeners of our show have the chance to win a free 1-year pro account upgrade on Letterboxd. Letterboxd Regular is free to use. There is no subscription fee, no strings attached except an internet connection and a browser. Hopefully that's pretty obvious. Sometimes it's not. Or you can have a phone, and they have a pretty sweet app that I love using and publishing my lists on. But regardless, a pro account is going to provide you with additional features such as a customized summary of your past year's viewing. If you already have a pro account, you get the year extension free. So you can't escape this deal unless you don't like getting good deals or listening to our show for that matter, or talking about movies for that matter. If you want to enter, all you have to do is listen to our show and we will read the code word at random. Guess what? I'm going to read it at the front of the show today because I don't have time to hide it somewhere in the show. I didn't say it within the show. The code word this month is, let's see, it's still August. So it's still LilyPad. LilyPad for the last time. The code word is LilyPad. It's going to be different next month. So if you want that extension, email us at hoopercast@gmail.com. Put LilyPad in the subject line, and in the body of the email, include your Letterboxd username, because you have to have an account with Letterboxd. Why do you want a free pro account if you don't even have an account, you dummy? The winner is going to be selected during the last show of each month. That's going to be really cool. You don't want to miss that. You can also follow our show on Letterboxd. Just search HooperCast, letterboxd.com, 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 baby. Woo! Woo! Enjoy the episode. To open all these tabs, and I hates it. We hates it.
We hates it, precious.
We hates it.
We hates it.
What's taters? Oh my God, all this
Taters,
taking so
boil
long.
them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Did you ever see the someone did a remix of that?
I did, yeah. That was big, like in the days of early internet.
Was that old?
Yeah, dude. That was like from, I don't know, 2005. Like that was a long time ago, man.
Wow, man.
No, it was before that. Those movies came out, I think, what year did Return of the King come out? 2003?
Oh my God, was that 2003?
No, I can't.
No, it was. No, it was.
Was
You're
it?
right. It was. I'm just resisting
It
feeling
was.
old.
Oh man.
Dude. We're
Snap.
old. We're so old.
Good Lord.
2003.
That, and the other meme was, they're taking the Hobbits to Isengard. They did like a big remix of that. Do you remember that?
Isengard. They're taking the Hobbits to Isengard.
To Isengard.
To Isengard. I just remember, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew. Boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew. Potatoes. Potatoes.
Potatoes, precious.
Potatoes. Potatoes. That's good. All right. Let's get started, Dustin.
Let's do it.
Cool. All right. That's cool that we're way behind, but that's okay. You're damn right, everybody. It's the HooperCast. Hello, everyone. How you doing today? I sound like an auctioneer. This is hi, it's Connor. That's Dustin, and for some reason, we are both wearing red shirts tonight.
It's Red Day.
It's Red Day. A red day. Something. What's the line? We were just talking about Lord of the Rings and the fact that it came out in 2003.
Gosh, that's so long ago.
In the second one, Theoden's like, they're about to like storm out of Helm's Deep and like commit suicide, and he says something like a sallow day, a red day, ere the sun rises. That's what we're doing today, everybody. Yeah.
Dude, did you see any of those movies in theaters?
I thought you said I see any of those movies.
Yeah, have you ever seen Lord of the Rings?
What is this? Lord of the Rings?
Of this.
Yeah, I saw them all in theaters. I saw the first one in theaters. I didn't even know what it was. Really? My mom was just like, yeah, it's like this guy, he puts on a ring, and because she had read like The Hobbit. I don't know if she'd read Lord of the Rings or not, whatnot, but she was like, well, I like The Hobbit. And so she obviously couldn't explain the plot to me because I was like, 10. Sure. And she was like, he puts on this ring and he can turn invisible. I was like, sweet, I'm in.
The most basic understanding of that, yeah.
Yeah, and I went and saw Fellowship. I went and sat through a 3-hour movie somehow.
Wow.
At that age, yeah.
That's impressive.
And I think I came back for the other two.
So my story with that is I had to read The Hobbit for school. And as always happened to me, whenever I had to read something for school, I hated it. Yeah. That happened every time. There's not a single book that I read in school that I liked. And when you
liked Fahrenheit 451.
See, I every time they said you have to read this, I hated everything. And so I read The Hobbit and hated it. And Lord of the Rings came out, and I knew it was like a sequel to it or whatever. And so I don't even remember if I was like super cognizant of the fact that they were also books. I just knew that like these movies were coming out, and I just read the book. And so anyway, the point is, like, I was like, I'm not seeing that. That's stupid. I won't see it because The Hobbit was awful. And then literally, I guess it was like right around the time Return of the King came out, I was like, all right, let me give this one more shot. And I think I reread The Hobbit, and then I went and rented from Blockbuster Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, and loved them to death when they were recreational. And then I saw Return of the King in theaters, but that was the only one I'd seen in theaters until this year, where my theater played all three. So I was able to check those out again.
Yeah, back in the day at a youth group, we did all 3 extended editions back to back one day. So we there was like a 6 a.m. mass or something.
That's crazy.
And then after that, we go into the center, and then we watched Fellowship. And then we would like eat breakfast. Wow. Or 11Z's or second breakfast or whatever.
Right. References.
And then we'd watch, and those are 4 hours long. And then we watched The Two Towers. And then after that, it was like, 1 or 2 o'clock. And so, we had lunch, and then we watched Return of the King. That was dinner time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent 12 hours up there, 13 hours up there one day.
Good Lord. That's crazy. Insane.
But you don't have to spend 13 hours with the HooperCast tonight. It's just an hour. It's what I've, sort of slangingly referred to as the HooperCast movie hour.
Slangingly.
Even though we're just the HooperCast proper. Like sometimes like you hear old shows like, oh, the Tracy Ullman show or the blank and blank comedy hour. Well, this is the HooperCast movie hour.
Right, there you go.
In terms of the length of time we shoot for, because sometimes with HooperCast it's like, okay, what is it though?
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about movies, you guys. We're talking about movies. If you want to hear us talk long form about movies, though, well, that's what we're doing right now. But if you're watching this on Facebook, we have a YouTube channel. Here's what it looks like. And that's where all of the videos are. And we talk about we've done 175 of them, and this would be the 176th one. So we're creeping up to 200. We might be there by the end of the year. That's I know there's not enough weeks left in the year. That. Okay, well, next year we'll be doing something big for our 200th. That might even be by the time Avengers 4 comes out.
Ooh,
which would be pretty sweet.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, and we're on iTunes and stuff as well. So we'll get into all that later. We might not. Expect Dustin and I to both sound dry-throated the whole time. For some reason, dude, I'm always parched.
I know
when I get on this show. I don't know what it is.
I know. Me too.
I don't know if I spend like the whole
psychological
evening eating and like doing dishes and housework and not drinking water or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yep.
So
that'll do it.
All right, well, let's get into it tonight,
do
Dustin. Let's talk about some film news. I just had one little item that we could talk briefly about. So if people are not aware of the Tomato Meter and RottenTomatoes.com, I'm sure you've heard it. If you follow movies at all, you know what it is. If you don't know, the Tomato Meter is, it's RottenTomatoes.com is a website where they aggregate movie reviews. They basically take all these certified critics, distill their reviews of a movie into a positive or negative black and white score, and then they put all those together and they give it a numerical percentage ranking, and the number correlates to how many critics gave the film a positive review.
Correct.
So if a film has 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, that means that 98% of the critics who reviewed this film have given it a positive review.
Right.
And so there's been a lot of, controversy lately, I guess, because certain studios, DC, Warner Brothers, are getting angry because they're trying to blame Rotten Tomatoes as low rankings of their films for low box office turnout, which it's like you forget that those numbers come from people who already don't like the film, right? It's not us.
Well, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding among some people about what the Tomato Meter actually is, and you just hit it. It's an aggregate. It's saying like this is the amount of people, the percentage of people who approve of this, but it doesn't weight reviews. So it's not like a glowing review is weighted heavier than like it was good. You know what I mean? So just because it has like, let's say an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes doesn't necessarily equate to a B+. It just means that 87% of people liked it. There are people within that 87% who loved it, and that could be 5%. And the rest of those 82% actually just thought it was okay.
It's inherently sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it doesn't adequately or accurately describe the actual quality or how much the film is liked, but just the fact that it is liked versus disliked.
Exactly. Yeah, like it is an admittedly polarizing model, because it really does count. There's not a lot of subtlety. It's just a thumbs up or down right away. It forces you to make that choice. So So some people were complaining, I guess, maybe, or they weren't, about I'd heard it echoed here and there about, what are the criteria for being a certified critic? Like what makes a certified critic? It's kind of stuck up or whatever. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes said, hey guys, we got you. We read you. There's an article on their own website today, an editorial by Joel Mieres. Joel wrote an editorial on their website today, and he basically laid out. Is that today? Sorry, is this the 29th? Or is this
yes,
I forgot what day it is.
Today's the 29th.
Sorry, so this was yesterday. They updated the Tomato Meter criteria. Yeah. So they basically said that we started the site 2 decades ago when legitimate critics, like basically when newspaper and broadcast media had a lot more credibility and were a lot more of the only place you could get a credible review from an actual film critic. Yep. And essentially for a while they didn't want to legitimize internet critics. Right. Like the HooperCast. Right. In terms of like, these dum-dums can't know how to score a movie necessarily. Right. So they basically said, a lot has changed. The article says, by some estimates, the total daily circulation of newspapers in America has fallen by half, and the size of the newspaper workforce has been reduced by more than a third. With the subsequent drop in revenue, broadcast TV and radio stations have faced similar challenges. With the rise of cable, online news, streaming, podcasts, and YouTube, Often the arts desk has been the first place to suffer cuts when things get tough. Traditional full-time arts journalism jobs, let alone full-time working critics, are a rarity today.
Yeah.
So they basically thought of four main criteria for determining new critics. Yep. Okay. And so I just thought this was kind of interesting because it essentially means they're widening the field. But here's a look at the criteria in case people want to get a closer look at this a little bit as I literally zoom in on the article. The 4 key values that they lay out are insight, audience, quality, and dedication. It says under insight, criticism can be many things: a deep dive into the filmmaking craft, an analysis of subtext, a discussion on social commentary, an enthusiastic argument. We look for engaging content that has a distinct voice and offers perspective on a film or TV series, not just a plot summary. These are things, by the way, like as I read them, I go, okay, like that makes me feel better. Like we do these things, like we're
right. We're legit. Yeah,
we do some deep dive on this stuff. Like we certainly have insight. Audience. I don't know, Dustin. Here's where we might.
Right.
Our intention is to reflect and represent, to cultivate a rich, varied, and inclusive space for engaging perspectives or debate. We seek critics who reach a wide audience, but also those whose film and TV coverage serves underrepresented groups. There's quality. Again, questionable. Reviews should observe grammatical rules and demonstrate clarity and structure, whether approved by an editorial staff or self-published. In the same vein, video and podcast reviews should be well-structured and have a clear resolution and sound. Dedication, whether you're a podcaster producing multiple shows per month or an alt-weekly contributor. What the hell does that mean? We recognize
every other week. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Why wouldn't they just say that's so weird? Those are fighting words. Yeah,
that's weird.
Additionally, memberships in critics organizations are recognized as a sign of merit, but are not essential for inclusion. So what they're basically saying is alternative sources for critics are fine with us. They just need to be pretty well produced, pretty easy to understand, have a wide enough audience, essentially people who take their opinions, seriously.
Yeah.
And who are consistent, who regularly put out content.
Right.
So we can essentially count on their numbers for rating a new release every week.
Right. And I think this is a really good idea to at least, lay this out. Like, not only does it give people something to strive towards, but it also really, really differentiates. Like, let's say, an 8-year-old can make a YouTube channel and put out videos every week, with his dad's help. But if all he's doing is saying it's good or it's bad, and all he's doing, because he's like, cute or whatever, like he's going to get thousands of views. It still differentiates him. Yes, he's got the audience. Yes, he's got consistency, but no, he doesn't have anything good to say. And the quality, I guess, his dad could help with the quality, but really his insight is not going to be good. So it really kind of says, okay, yes, like you can hit 1 or maybe 3 of these, but if you have to hit all 4 of them. And I think, that 8-year-old is going to have a hard time hitting, insight, and likewise, a really intelligent, thoughtful conversation may not have an audience. And so I think, it gives that thoughtful, intelligent conversation something to strive towards, and B, as that 8-year-old grows, he knows he's got to, or she knows that they have to continue sort of broadening the way that they look at film. It's not it's good, it's bad. It's not, hey, I just put, this dish in my mouth and it tasted okay. These fries are good. But it's, what's the social commentary? What does it mean? In terms of the craft, does it achieve its goals? Does it have goals? Is it artistically, coherent? And I think all of that is, again, something to strive towards. So yeah, whether you're hitting only 1 of these or 3 of these, you still sort of have like a benchmark that you have to hit, which I think is really helpful.
Sorry. There we go. What do you think this will? I guess I wonder sometimes, like, I hate the question. What do you think this means, Dustin? What do you think it means? Yeah. But does this essentially mean that that tomato meter scores might be a bit more, I guess, accurate, or at least a lot more nuanced? Like, if you see a number, as opposed to maybe 100 critics reviewing or contributing to a score, is it going to sort of open up to more like 300 critics? 'Cause that's what it seems like to me. It already seems like the critic audience, like for every 100, of a legitimate, an A.O. Scott or a Peter Travers, you're going to have 200 more people online, like Chris Stuckman or Schmoes No or whoever, Collider, sure. Red Letter Media. You're going to have people out there. I always figured that 2/3 of the critic audience was not in like a published, like a quote unquote legitimate website. Do you think that that's accurate?
Yeah, I would. And so what I think is going to happen is we're going to start seeing better scores because at the end of the day, you have to think about it like this. The people who are going to be motivated to write about and talk about movies are people by and large who like movies. They're, with the exception of like, your Armand Whites or whatever, most film critics just like going to the movies. And yes, we can be critical and say, okay, this film Transformers, whatever, 7 or whatever, has very little artistic integrity. It doesn't do anything challenging or thoughtful or whatever. And sure, we give things bad ratings. You and I do it on the show all the time. But at the end of the day, as you broaden that, I think if already there's a disparity between people who love movies and people who love movies but are a little more critical, it's just that disparity I think is going to grow. So in other words, this is sort of a long way of saying I think we're going to have more movie lovers on Rotten Tomatoes, which is going to equate to higher scores, which means fewer, because that disparity grows, there's going to be fewer negative reviews, which in turn, because of the greater number of reviews, the negative reviews are going to be, essentially each negative review is going to mean less and less and less. So what may have last year gotten, an 82 may end up with an 87, or what ended up, originally with, a 90 may have a 98. So, I don't know how that's really going to shake out, but I think that, maybe this is me, maybe this is rose-colored glasses, whatever. But I think that the majority, I think it's easier for a critic to like a movie than to hate it. And so I think that that disparity is going to grow. Does that, I don't know if you would agree with that.
I think it's, I don't know. I feel like people want to like a movie. I feel like most critics, especially the longer they do it, they're like, I just don't want to write a negative review. Mm-hmm. and you would think that they would, I don't know. I feel like that's how I would be. I feel like that's how I am now. I feel like most of the time I go, it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel bored by my own reviews sometimes. Like I give too many things a 3-star just because I don't want to think too much about it, or I don't want to think too much about the fact that I watch a lot of 3-star movies. Right. I don't know which it is.
Yeah, no, it's true. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's going to take a little bit to really see how this plays out. The more interesting thing to me is, so if I understand it right, and maybe a critic who is eligible and a part of Rotten Tomatoes can at any point go back and critique any film, or is there a certain point where the film review process is closed? Because could then theoretically there be some weird moment in time where a bunch of critics get together and say, hey, this film needs to be rated higher. Let's all join together and all rate this higher. And, so essentially retroactively making a film seem better than it was when it was initially released. Because, you think about something like Toy Story 3, right? Doesn't have 100%. But could theoretically these additional people, if 100 more people start, voting, right? Could we bump that number up? I think last I checked it was 97 or something like that. Could we get it to 99? You know what I mean? If all of these people jump in there and all give it a glowing review, could we potentially, essentially retroactively change the scores of past films. So yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that's part of them going like, we want to make sure you have a certain amount of people who a certain size of audience, because you're not going to have a bunch of essentially reckless assholes who are like, you know what, let's go change the score for Citizen Kane, let's take it off 100, who have 1 million subscribers on YouTube,
right? Or
you do, and it's still allowed to happen because right now I believe that you can review, a certified critic can go review a movie from a while ago and publish a review on it and have that review affect the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yes. Because
the idea behind it was supposed to be that it would still reflect a current, essentially they wanted the reviews, the tomato meter for a movie to be like a living document. They didn't want to just be like, oh, we're all going to review it for the first year it's out, and then no one's allowed to touch the score again, because views on movies change.
Right.
Especially socially, as things progress more and more, especially after Me Too. I wonder how many movies people will look at and review, give themselves a revised review and go, you know what, like this film's totally uncomfortable now, just because of everything that's been going on socially. So I mean, that's a much larger version of what I'm doing now, reviewing my own, reviewing movies I've seen before that I own. I'm giving them one more shot before I, before I get rid of them. That's essentially what I'm doing, is like, have my opinions on these films changed since I found them good enough quality to own.
And inevitably they have. A good case in point. I actually own, for whatever reason, Get Smart on DVD.
I think that's one got stolen, but yeah.
Really?
I used to own that.
Okay, yeah. So I own that, and it's on Netflix now. And like, Sarah had never seen it, so I turned it on, and dude, we watched like 20 minutes of that thing before turning it off. And I was like, yeah, okay, gonna get rid of that DVD now.
Man, it's crazy, because didn't we see that in theaters?
I think so.
Was that in theaters?
I know I saw it in theaters, but
Oh, you know what? I saw that in high school. I remember now, because they made there's a joke in there that I still think is funny. And this, I remember this sticks in my head because my friend Ian like spit out popcorn. He thought it was so funny. He said he's walking through like their base or whatever. And
is it the yellow cake?
It's the yellow cake.
Yes, that's the best joke. That's the best joke in the whole movie.
The joke, everybody, is he's walking through this laboratory, and he's on the horn with HQ, and they're like, Agent Smart, did you find the yellow cake? Did they're talking about yellow cake uranium, and he's like, negative, I find there's no trace of yellow cake, although there is actual yellow cake here. And it cuts to like a dozen scientists at a table
in hazmat suits,
and they're celebrating like someone's birthday party or someone's like work anniversary, and it's a gigantic yellow cake.
Oh man.
No one laughed in the theater except for me and my friends.
I remembered it. That's so good. That's a great joke.
It's a funny joke. And I remember like, maybe it was right then and there, I was like, I'm buying this film.
Right.
Yeah, but some films don't hold up after a while. Yeah. So if the rule currently is we're going to allow people to affect the tomato meter simply based on on an old review, a 30 years later review of like Blade Runner or something. Are we going to let them? And if they say this is stupid because it's boring. Wow. I was trying to sound like an idiot, but I was essentially quoting my own review of Blade Runner.
These visual effects suck.
This is stupid.
It's not enough explosions.
I'm bored. If they have enough viewers, then they reflect the views of a certain segment of the population. So in that sense, their view, however uneducated or unfounded or unappreciative of the film, it's relevant now because that reflects what society thinks of that movie.
Right.
So you got to include it.
Yep, true.
So this does sort of open up the floodgates a little bit, but hopefully we have an upcoming and a continuing development for generations of people who are able to watch films and look at them in context, look at them at the time they were released, and sort of appreciate them outside of whatever cultural norm that we would live in at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, cool. I hope that works out.
Yeah, me too.
I do. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and cut the live stream off because we're going to talk about some movies. Yeah. So you can catch this episode on Friday on right here on Facebook at the Facebook page. So you just go to facebook.com/HooperCast. That's where our stuff is. And our stuff is also on YouTube and iTunes on Friday. That's the rest of the show. And it's pretty sweet. And you can hear all this Letterboxd goodness if you tune in there or in a past episode. But if you go to the YouTube page, and if you're watching on YouTube now, go ahead and please subscribe. I don't know why people do like and comment and subscribe. I suppose the likes make the video more visible, and maybe comments do too.
Sure.
You don't have to do those things. Just subscribe.
Yeah, just subscribe.
You don't have to like the video or comment on it. Just subscribe. And help us get to 1,000 subscribers. That's our goal. And help us get on the tomato meter, man.
Yeah, man.
Woo! That'd be crazy. Wouldn't it be weird to see HooperCast like
that? Would be crazy
on that website.
Yes,
man, we would have arrived. All right,
for real.
Well, again, the rest of the show, everybody. Oh, whoops! There's the links. Whoops! I didn't even do those this time. Isn't that crazy how that works sometimes? Anyways, rest of the show on YouTube. Thanks, guys. We will catch you later.
Bye.
All right, Dustin. Continuing on.
Yeah.
We got about half an hour-ish here.
Okay.
Let's talk about some movies. I want to hear about this Dana Carvey movie that you were talking about because I love Dana Carvey.
Yeah. So this movie is called Too Funny to Fail, The Life and Death of the Dana Carvey Show. It is available to stream on Hulu. So if you're interested, it's an easy, accessible title. The film is a documentary about both the beginnings and the end of the Dana Carvey Show, which ran from sometime to sometime. I'm not sure when. Hold on. I should know this.
It was the early 90s, right?
Yeah. Hold on.
I think it was like
1996.
Okay. Ooh, wow. It was later, more recent than I thought. I thought it was like 93. So
1996. It was obviously a big branch out for Dana Carvey. He had proven very successful on Saturday Night Live, and he was willing to try something new. So it was still a sketch comedy show. There were bits and pieces that were, pre-recorded sort of segments, and then their normal sort of Saturday Night Live-y kind of stuff. It ran for 8 episodes on ABC and then was very unceremoniously canceled. But the show actually kind of gave a start to a lot of people, or if not a start, at least sort of a boost. So you have like Robert Smigel, who was a big part of the Dana Carvey Show, Stephen Colbert, Steve Carell,
who both went on to be Daily Show correspondents.
Correct. And then from there,
here's a picture of I believe that's Robert Smigel dressed as Gene Shalit.
Yes.
Speaking of film critics.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of Steve Carell.
Yeah, there you go.
Weird.
The Dana Carvey Show was really sort of irreverent and a little abstract, I think. Some of the ideas, some of the things were really ahead of their time, and also kind of a little too self-referential and mocking of networks and the way that they work, and just the business of it. And I think it really made ABC it really made ABC nervous, is really what it boils down to. And so after 8 episodes, the show is canceled. And so this documentary chronicles that. Clearly that was it's a labor of love for these guys. And they do have talking heads. They interview each of these people: Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert. They're all here talking about, like, hey, this is what I remember. This is how I got cast. This is how it all fell apart. And it is a funny documentary, as you'd expect. Dana Carvey's hilarious. Colbert and Carell both have some really funny stuff in here. It shows clips from the show, which if you've never seen any of the Dana Carvey show, I would say do this. Go to YouTube right now and search. Well, not right now, like after the show.
Well, we're not live anymore. They can go right.
Yeah. Pause this, go to YouTube, subscribe to us, then go to YouTube and say, just search the waiters who are nauseated by food. That's one of the best sketches. And so that's Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert as waiters who, as the title suggests, are nauseated by food. Hilarious sketch. Super, super funny. Then there's, the Practical Jokers, where Dana Carvey, Steve Carell play a couple of guys who pull practical jokes on people, but all of the practical jokes end up making Dana Carvey and Steve Carell either look like idiots or actually hurts them. And they think it's hilarious, but it's clearly like not inconveniencing anybody at all. And so, like, to give you an example, in one sketch, Dana Carvey and Steve Carell pull up to a drive-through. They can't stop laughing, but they finally manage to squeak out their order. They go to the drive-through window, they pay for their food, and then as soon as the cashier at the window takes the money, they drive off. And they're just laughing the whole way now. And it's just like, it's stuff like that. Like, you gave them the money. You could have ordered the food and then drove off, but you gave them money and then you drove off and you didn't get your food. And I hate explaining jokes, but I'm trying to say that's the kind of humor that this show had. Some of it was really dumb. Some of it was really abstract and really kind of outside the box.
I love this Bob Dole undercover idea.
Yes, there's some really great stuff here. Some funny political stuff. It's not just like political for the sake of being political. It's political because, like, let's parody politics.
Right.
And you know what? It really shows that. I
can't get over this Gene Shalit picture.
I know. It really shows that comedy is. Let me rephrase that. The best comedy is often misunderstood in its time. So what you have is a documentary that ultimately is a little bit sad, that all of these guys, and their brainchild and their baby got taken from them. But at the end of the day, they all ended up pretty good. So it all ends up happy. But yeah, it's a really funny documentary. It's a really good documentary. I'm a sucker for documentaries that are sort of like film industry documentaries. I just love, anything that takes me behind and says, all right, well, here's how the business works. Here's how this happened. Here's how it fell apart. I love that kind of stuff. So if you're at all interested in, the business, or you're at all interested in just having watched a funny documentary, I would highly recommend Too Funny to Fail. I'll give it 4 stars. It is, it's a good doc. At the end of the day, it's not one of those docs that changes your life. But if you can spend an hour and a half laughing, and kind of marveling at the comedic talents of some of these guys, then I think that's well worth your time. So yeah, I would say definitely check that out. And it is on Hulu, like I said, so, very easy to check out as well. So yeah, Too Funny to Fail, The Life and Death of the Dana Carvey Show, 4 stars. Dude,
that's great.
Yeah.
Man, I love Dana Carvey. I think it was probably a few months ago now that I'd recommended his stand-up special on Netflix. He just put out, like, last year. I think it's Straight White Male 60.
Yep.
I mean, he's great on Dana Carvey's show. He's great on Saturday Night Live. He's great in Wayne's World. But he's 60 years old. He's still doing stand up, and he's better than ever. He's just a classic showman. And I love Dana Carvey.
I know, he's just one of those guys that has the gift.
And he never, and as I said in that review, he never felt the need to get down the gutter for a laugh. It was always like a what I would, I guess, refer to as an above board act or joke. Even with Trump, like, he's not one of those people who just like takes the low hanging fruit with Trump. He sticks to his strengths, and he's extremely effective as a comedian. I love Dana Carvey. Yeah,
I do too. I think he's really just maybe one of the last SNL stars that really made intense waves. And so you have, your Bill Haders and your Fred Armisons and whatever else, but Fred Armison's too hipster to be mainstream, and Bill Hader's a little too nerdy to be a leading man, but yeah, Dana Carvey is just one of those really great guys who can do impressions. He can do pratfalls. He can do puns. He can do wordplay. He can do it all. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
I've got some family fare for you, Dustin.
All right, hit me.
A few of them. Chief among them we're going to talk about tonight is Peter Rabbit.
Okay.
I did not expect to see this.
Yes.
In fact, when we were about to watch this on Netflix, I remember that there was some controversy about it, and I couldn't remember what it was for. And then it was explained to me, and I read an article about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's stupid." I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Peter Rabbit is an animated film, and it's got a celebrity. It's kind of a celebrity voice cast, although you really can't. I mean, the main cast is James Corden as Peter Rabbit. It's based on the children's book. The characters are all their designs are all based on the rabbits from the book, which is pretty proportion realistic to rabbits, not like big old Disney eye rabbits. Like it looks like they're from the book. One or two flashback sequences are actually animated in the style of the storybook, which is pretty cool. So I was like, I don't even remember what company did this film. I don't even know who did this. Who done this?
Who did this to me?
But the film also stars Domhnall Gleeson and Rose Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot like Paddington, this movie is a lot funnier than you would think from the outset. And it's a lot more British than you would think from the outset. Mm-hmm. And I think similar to Paddington, that's where a lot of the humor in this film comes from. Yeah. So I gave this for a while, Dustin. This was a 5 for me for a while.
Oh, wow.
I knocked it down to 4.5 just because I felt like later I'd regret 5. I think I'm giving those away too much.
Sure.
Just like a regular streetwalker.
Yeah.
But
give it away
now. My virginity and my reviews, all 5 of my stars right away, no questions asked. I can never get them back.
It's okay.
That's okay. Every single episode, I say that damn Dr. Phil line. That's okay.
That's okay.
They'll do that for months. In fact, that should be the next Letterboxd code word. That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Peter Rabbit's a 4.5 star. This film, I will go ahead and make this declaration right now. So everyone perk up your ears, okay? This is weird because that's rabbits, and all 5 of them were on screen there with their ears perked up. That was odd. But seriously, everyone perk up your ears. This film is not for children.
Really?
This children's film about rabbits, anthropomorphic rabbits, this is not for kids, okay?
Okay.
This film surprised me because you think it's going to be a dumb stock talking CG animals film starring James Corden, but it's actually a black comedy with very British humor and incredibly self-aware and really, 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 really hilarious.
Really?
Yes. The controversy in the film is that so there's Peter Rabbit and his family, and then there's Farmer McGregor, who has vegetables, and they go eat his vegetables. And he's like, you rabbits. Farmer McGregor goes away at a certain point in the film. Okay. And his nephew comes in, and that's Domhnall Gleeson.
Okay.
He's a city slicker. He's out in the country. He's taking care of the estate, and has a renewed energy to get rid of these, what he refers to them as rodents.
Okay.
And Domhnall Gleeson, it's set up that he's allergic to blackberries. They intentionally attack him with blackberries at a certain point, and he goes into anaphylactic shock.
Oh my gosh.
And he pretty convincingly almost dies.
Wow.
And at the time, there was a controversy about it because they thought that it was punching down at people with food allergies. And I was like, and so I was looking at it, I was like, well, that's stupid because if anything, it's showing how serious food allergies are. And
right.
You probably shouldn't you should be careful around people with food allergies.
Sure.
Not that you, it's not looked at as a good thing that Peter Rabbit encourages his family to attack this man with a food that could kill him.
Yeah.
He stabs himself with the EpiPen immediately. Then he's fine.
Okay.
It's not made light of. It's not him sneezing. It's like one or 2 seconds where like he stops moving and everything's just quiet. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah,
gosh.
I was pretty freaked out by it. So I can see why it might scare kids. But anyway, yeah, that was nuts.
That's crazy.
One of the things I appreciate in this film that they do is they portrayed animals as wild and not necessarily cute or human-like.
Yeah.
They didn't shy away from them like hunting each other or anything like that. They stayed true to animal nature, which I appreciate as, person who watches animal documentaries and stuff.
Right.
I appreciate there's a running gag with the rooster where like the sun comes up and he's on the little stand. He's like, oh, the sun's coming up. I thought when I went to bed last night that was it. But here it is again for all of us to enjoy. This is great. And at some point they hit him again. They hit him again. And so they come back to him again. He's like, I think the third and final time he says something like, if I'd known the sun was going to come up tomorrow, I wouldn't have sired all those eggs. But now I have to stick around and be present and involved. And just jokes like that children would never understand.
Right.
But that are phrased in a sophisticated manner. So it's not just like more mature jokes for adults that are big and dumb. It's like,
right.
It's actually has a fair amount of social commentary attached to them in this animated film. The physical comedy is hilarious. There's several times people get electrocuted in the film where they're unexpectedly just thrown across the screen into a wall, presumably with one of those like spring harnesses to where it's clearly done in camera, which I just love, and that's always funny.
Right, exactly.
I loved this movie. I was laughing hysterically throughout this whole film.
Sweet.
It's great. Like I said, it's pretty self-aware. There's a few jokes in there that are James Corden. I thought I was going to hate this character that he voiced. Mm-hmm. He was perfect for this rabbit. Awesome. Perfect casting for him voicing him. Even just little jokes like this one. Let's see if I can pause it or go back. They're playing Scrabble. Him and Rose Byrne are playing Scrabble. I can't do it. Why can't I do it? All right. Well, I can't go back for some reason. Anyway, they're playing Scrabble. And they're talking about their lives, and she's like, oh, everything's pretty cool for me. How about you? And he's like, oh, my parents both died when I was really young. It hasn't affected me at all. And they cut down to their words, and all the words he's spelled out are like broken, alone, misunderstood, just little things like that you just kids will never pick up on it.
Right.
So they're here for the cute talking animals and like the running around and the physical comedy. But it's 80% of the jokes in this film are not for children. And I really love that. Yeah, this film is on Netflix. I would watch it again. I recommend anyone watch it. I had a tall glass of wine with my wife and watched this film. It was great. I loved it. I loved it. Peter Rabbit.
Cool.
Again, your kids can watch this. There's no reason that a kid can't watch this film or shouldn't watch the movie, but it was not made for them.
Right.
I must point that out. So
Sweet.
Let's see. Where are we at? We got time for one or two more.
Yeah.
I wanted real quick to talk about another sort of children's movie. Mm-hmm. So I watched Journey to the Center of the Earth. This is the 2008 film starring Brendan Fraser. and a young Josh Hutcherson, and a really fetching Icelandic actress named Anita something. It sounds like I'm about to do like a Bart Simpson joke, like Anita hot chick.
Right,
But
I was
like,
gonna say.
No, her name is Anita. I just can't remember her name. It's hard to pronounce. I think she went on to be. I think she was in Desperate Housewives at the time as well. Anyways, it's a movie about why am I even explaining this? It's a movie where some people they take a journey to the center of the earth. Okay,
Right.
Brendan Fraser, his nephew, and their mountain guide in Reykjavik in Iceland, where they go into the earth and then they go to the center of it and emerge. And it's a 2-star. It didn't piss me off. This is just a film that has some bad green screen. And they spend a lot of the movie in an area where it's not real. So,
Right.
It just doesn't look great in some areas. There's a couple of sequences that just feel really canned, like really just like, oh, this is just here for a bit, and
right.
It's a fun little adventure though. I'm glad my kids saw it because it's harmless.
Yeah,
it's not like a movie. In the realm of things you could show your kids, it's not the worst thing.
Right.
I still enjoyed it while I was watching it. That's probably because I like Brendan Fraser so much.
Yeah.
And obviously she's great too. But I don't really know what else to say about this, I guess. Wow, this is like barely a review. Again, if you're browsing stuff on Netflix, especially if you want something for the kids can watch, I don't know. I guess I harp on the kids point so much because it's my son was watching it pretty attentively. And I felt okay about it because look, I'm going to keep mentioning this actress and her physical attractiveness just because this is relevant.
Okay.
So obviously that's there for like the older men to watch or whatever. This is a little bit of a young target audience. I wouldn't consider that 16, 17-year-old dudes. That was a Freudian slip. Are watching this film, but like when you put any woman in these situations, no matter how smart and capable she is, especially back in this, I'll say, pre-Me Too, and women have been fighting for this for decades in film, to have a character who's competent and taken seriously as a character and not necessarily as an attractive woman.
Right. So
I've been seeing kids films lately in a different lens because I watched this, and again, as nice as pretty as she is, her character's, I would say, the smartest one there, and she's not overtly sexualized, which is nice because I have a young daughter, and I don't want my son to necessarily. It's just what you see it through a different lens when you're a parent or just not a kid. I don't know. Like for instance, we were watching the Flintstones movie recently, the John Goodman one.
Yeah.
From the 90s or whatever with which I'd never seen either.
Right. I haven't seen that either.
Yeah. Cause I'd seen the other one that they released in film in theaters, but not that one with the more famous cast. And so Halle Berry's in that movie, as like a secretary, and she is extremely scantily clad, and there's a few times where they even play like the kind of saxophone sort of to her, and she's like rolling all over top of his desk like, is there anything I can do for you, Mr. Flintstone? And as I'm sure this would have sent me running for the hills, the good hills, when I was a teenager, or a preteen boy, because it's Halle Berry rolling around being suggestive. As an adult male with children, and one of them being a daughter, I was supremely uncomfortable watching that. And so lately when we watch kids movies, I'm like, oh, please don't rack focus on her boobs. Don't like do any of this. I'm so like, I have such like an anxiety around it now because I just don't. Kids are impressionable and toddlers are impressionable, and I just don't want my daughter picking up on that kind of behavior. And all of a sudden, we're not talking about Journey anymore, you guys. We're talking about women in film. All of a sudden, this whole issue snapped into the sharpest focus ever for me, because I sort of finally could see it not just as like an objective, observer, like, oh yeah, this should probably be a thing. Like, I understand their point. Now it's like, I will not accept a film that has subpar written females anymore, simply because if for no other reason, of course, as a viewer and as someone who wants to see good characters, believable characters, characters who should be taken seriously, people not being judged on their appearance. But now it's just like, my kid's going to see this. And I don't need my daughter learning that's how women should behave towards men. And I don't want my son expecting that behavior from women towards him. So I want my son to have some nice low self-esteem going into any interaction with females.
Women aren't going to like you, son.
So that he learns that he has to earn their attention and respect. But seriously, I don't know. It's weird. So like, we're watching this movie and I think we saw them both the same weekend. And I remember just looking at her going like, thank God. Thank God that she's the only reason the three of them are alive right now. Right. And that they do that thing where they sort of, casually shed more clothes as the movie goes on, but there's never like a shot of her butt or anything like that. It's just like, hey, it's 120 degrees down here because the core is heating back up, sort of a thing. It's not, it's relatively subtle. Right. So yeah.
I gotcha.
Anyways, well, why'd I do that? Whoops. I just popped something up that was empty, basically.
Gotcha.
Sorry, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I was just going to say, no, I agree. I think that, over are the days where, women were just sort of props in movies. And I think that, the most egregious example that comes to my mind is Star Trek Into Darkness has Alice Eve in that, and she clearly serves no purpose to that story whatsoever, which is why she wasn't in the sequel. Right. And all she is she's there for like the neckbeards to be like, oh, and then so she's not in the sequel, and then the sequel introduces a new female character who is fully covered up, and B, a strong character who's capable of living on her own. And I'm bullet pointing bullets. Anyway, whatever. Point is, she's able to live on her own. She's tough, strong, and has, fortified a little homestead for herself in this old ship. And nevertheless, I think between those two movies, there was a shift. And I think I read JJ say something like he said something like he regrets having Alice Eve in Into Darkness just because there wasn't anything for her to do there. And I was like, well,
hindsight 2020, buddy.
Right. And it's like, but you can't do that, like, because you can't do that with a guy character. So why would it be acceptable to do that with a female character? It just doesn't make sense. So I think in Hollywood, people are slowly coming around, but are coming around that, hey, if we're going to have a female character, like, let's give her something to do, and B, some good characterization here. And, so, yeah.
And that's the thing, like, it's not that the pendulum has to swing the other way. I'm making a lot more of a social statement than I thought I was going to make with these two children's movies. But like, it's not that the pendulum should swing the other way. Like, oh, we cannot cast attractive women anymore. It's like, no, you can, and there's no reason why you shouldn't. You just need to make sure that the way that you're dressing them, and the way that you're shooting them, and the way that they're behaving is consistent with their character. And if their character is a mountain guide in Iceland where it's cold, like, you shouldn't have her in a bikini, cozying up to the first man that knocks on the cabin door. Right. Even to their credit in Flintstones, like, it's not like that she's just this bimbo. Like, she is manipulating him because she's part of this plan to frame Fred Flintstone for this embezzlement and all that. So it's not like there's nothing to her character. But it was just like, it was so blatantly there to titillate that it just made me really uncomfortable.
Well, and I think, context has a lot to do
watching
with
that
it.
with my kids in the room. It was weird.
Right. And I think context has a lot to do with it. And I think that, that same sort of scenario, a temptress in a film, whose character literally is just to tempt, would be okay in, a different setting. So like an action movie, like a James Bond movie or a Mission Impossible movie, like that would become not as creepy. But when it's juxtaposed with, an animatronic purple dinosaur and, a dude, John Goodman, like it just doesn't add up. It doesn't, there's no reason that a Flintstones movie should have even had that moment.
Right.
Right. So, and you can argue all day long. Well, the Flintstones was did I say the Simpsons earlier?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, the Flintstones, did I say Fred Simpson? I don't think I did. I'm going to have to go back and check this now. Anyway, I'm paranoid. Fred Flintstone, the Flintstones were originally, a primetime show, a little more adult oriented, in the first place. So you can make that argument, but the case still stands. The Flintstones had become, and certainly by the 90s, a kids show.
Yeah.
And so when you make the live action film based on that, and it's as goofy and, whatever as the kids show was, there's just no reason. Like as a screenwriter sitting down and you're like, beating out your film and saying, okay, here's all the scenes, here's all the characters. A temptress character wouldn't have been on that list, for any screenwriter. It's just because either the studio or somebody said, oh, we got to have that so we can put it in the trailer, and
she's just a hot plot device that's there to make sure that the teens have something to look at, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so weird to see her so low on the call sheet. She was like, the 10th name. And I was like, man, she's y'all wait. Halle Berry's going to be, first billing.
Exactly. Very soon.
Do I have time for a speed round? I have two that have to be reviewed in a pair, and I have to get them off my list if I can. If not, we can wrap it up, Dustin. What you need?
Speed round it.
Speed round it. Okay.
Real quick.
Speaking of, we'll get to the speaking of part in the second one of this. I watched Pirates of the Caribbean 4 and 5.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, because I'm a completist. So the fourth one came out in 2011, I think. It's Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. This was the first film to not be directed by Gore Verbinski, but it does star Johnny Depp still returning as Captain Jack Sparrow after At World's End sort of wrapped up all the storylines. So they're like, we're doing more. And it's like, oh, okay. This was based on an existing novel. It also stars Penelope Cruz and Ian McShane as Blackbeard. Okay. You've got, again, like I said, Johnny Depp is back. Stupid Google Docs. I don't care. And of course Kevin McNally and also Jeffrey Rush as back as Hector Barbosa. Okay. Pirates 4, so I owned this. That's one of the reasons I was like, oh, let's watch this again because the fifth one's on Netflix. And so I watched it again. This is a 1.5 star. I don't care what happens to anyone in this film, especially all the new characters that we just met, because there's just no history with them. I don't care what's going on with them. I only care about Jack Sparrow, but I was put off at the time because he looked a little different. Like his wig is different. The way he dresses is a little different. And they just kept getting goofier and goofier. Yeah. And this is the film where he is most shown to be lucky and not competent. Because as we both talked about, what made the first Pirates so good was that Jack Sparrow miraculously would survive or escape scenarios over and over again, but he was shown to be relatively competent, just eccentric and unexpectedly so. Not necessarily. And then as the films went on and they turned into more and more of a cartoon character, they just had him miraculously survive situations. With really no explanation and through essentially no control of his own. Correct. And I hate that. And they kept going further and further with that as the films went on. And I remember thinking, like, stop it, don't do that. Like I want him to have a positive attribute. Like as everyone's like, oh, he looks drunk, and I always liked the fact that he was putting on a little bit of an act. to throw you off guard. But in this one, it's just, whatever. The fifth film is called Pirates of the Caribbean. I forgot what it's called.
Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Dead Men Tell No Tales. That's right. This. I actually got this at the library, but I believe it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a 2.5 star. A little higher than the last one.
Okay.
Still below par.
Yeah.
This film also stars Javier Bardem. And who else is in this? I don't know. Jeffrey Rush. I'll just say everyone plus Javier Bardem. This new character, this woman in the picture here with Johnny Depp. I can't remember what her name is. It's not important. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, that in the fourth film they have this missionary character who falls in love with a mermaid because they're like, oh, we don't have Will and Elizabeth anymore, but we need that kind of story, and it sucked and it was dumb and whatever. So in this one, you sort of had that story again, but it's not those characters. It's a new young couple, and this time the young boy is the son of Orlando Bloom. It is his son, because now it's been like 16 years since At World's End, where Will and Elizabeth part ways because he has to go be the captain of the Flying Dutchman. Yeah. So Jack Sparrow is now, understandably and at least explained on screen, to be, quite older, or at least you can infer that. And whatever. Jack Sparrow is pathetically and essentially, it's not ambiguous. He's a drunk for most of this film, more so than the implied drunkenness of the previous films. Yeah. These young lovers are not interesting as a couple. She is okay as her own character because she's like an astronomer. Sure. But my God, there are so many reminders that she's a woman. Yeah. In the script, it's just like, so we finally get a character who's competent as a female and who's not sexualized and everything. But because it's like 18, whatever, everyone's like, this woman, that woman, well, with this woman, can't bring a woman on board. Who's that woman? Stop that woman! Catch that woman! They kept saying the word woman. They keep saying the word woman. It's like, I know she's a woman, but they want to harp on the fact that, like, hey, look at this. She loves science and she's a female. No one likes her though because it's the old times. Right. It's stupid. I will say this for this movie: the stunts were all fairly within the possible realm, though. Okay. So it's a marked improvement over the previous 3 films. So this probably has the most believable stunts since the first film, which is refreshing, because that was another thing I was hating about these as they went on, was the stunts became less and less believable, more and more CG, more and more, come on, this is stupid kind of stuff. Right. So it's still a 2.5 star. It's not going to be the full, it's I don't know. So there's a 6th film coming out now. I don't know how that's going to be. I hope that the bell curve keeps going up, but it's still not going to reach the first film or probably even the second one in terms of quality. Right. I didn't even mention Javier Bardem as the villain. I don't think I have to. It's not compelling. It's just, it's ridiculous. His hair floats the whole time like it's underwater. Yeah. What the hell?
Because we can.
It's just, it was disappointing, but it wasn't. I expected this at this point, because finally these films for me are what the films were for others when the third one came out, and it's just, this is just money, and this is sort of like a beginning window into Johnny Depp's personal life starting to spiral out of control. Like somehow you can sense that on screen. I can't tell. I don't know if it's just because the portrayal. If he's just like, hey, I love wine, $30,000 of wine per month. Can you make Jack more obviously drunk so I don't have to act anymore? And that's what it felt like to me. Yeah. It was disappointing. Still not as bad as the fourth one though. Yeah, dude. It was nuts.
I've never seen either of those. I can't bring myself to do it.
Don't.
So it's so weird. The first one I loved. The second and third one I was like, I mean, they're okay. You know, they're beautiful visually, and that's about it. And so by the time the fourth one rolled around, I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's if you really want to enjoy these films, you can end it after the third film. Yeah. That's the most complete telling of these characters and their stories. Yeah. Although Will and Elizabeth do appear at the end of this film, so the assumption is they'll be in the 6th one and they'll really wrap everything up. Sure. plan B is to watch just the first 3 films.
Gotcha.
I can stomach those.
Sure.
You know, the last one's kind of nuts, but it wraps everything up pretty cool, grand scale, I guess. But the first one is just so good, and they do wrap up the story. Just watch the first movie and don't watch the other 4.
Yeah.
Just for now, that just seems to be the best thing to do with these films.
Right.
So, I'll watch the 6th one when it hits Netflix, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
That's the show, everybody.
Yeah.
That's it this week.
All right.
Yeah, man. Good show.
Sounds
I'll
good.
see you and everyone on Monday for the quick pick. And
sounds good.
Yeah, man. That's gonna be it. See you, everybody.
Alrighty.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Toodaloo.